In this episode, we will talk about the pros and cons of living in Dumaguete. Dumaguete has become a hotspot for foreigners and expats and retirees because of all these YouTube vloggers from foreign countries telling you it's a great place to retire. But there are some cons to it as well. Let's see if it's worth your time to even visit, let alone live in that town. Here are some pros according to Jerry. Smaller city, easier to get around, but big enough to find what you might need to live. Both live up in the mountains around Valencia as it is cooler up there with fresh air. Friendly people and safe place with not much crime. Good transportation hub, airport with multiple daily flights, seaport with both larger ferries and fast craft bus service. University town, so lots of young folks about and easier to meet up with mature Pinoys with an education and travel experience who can converse without things other than who borrowed their slippers. Cons. Some nightlife, but nothing like that found in other locations. Some see this as a plus. Lots of expats, with some being of the grumpy and gossiping type. Infrastructure better than many provincial cities or towns, but still issues with brownouts and water supplies. Note, my stay was typically 2 weeks in length, where I mostly stayed at their place, never without companionship as I always found a nice date via introduction. Never hung out in the few bars there, so cannot really say much about that. Several good restaurants and a really good bakery. Both of the couples that I stayed with moved back to the USA before COVID due to health issues. I actually liked the place, Valencia, but now that they have no longer resided there, it's unlikely I would ever visit that place. Another person replies saying, no international airport, no decent healthcare for serious things, frequent power outages. The power problem are kind of a deal breaker for me. It sounds like the coconut telegraph is very good there, so word gets around fast who is hooking up with who. It would be hard to keep that discreet. Most of the guys who settle there seem to be in long-term relationships, not guys who want to stay single and just fuck around. Larry says, I lived there a year or so, and do have some positive things to say about it. I thought healthcare was almost acceptable for all health issues from our point of view. As Silliman University seems to have some rather modern facilities, I do think folks who have very complex problems may go to Cebu for treatment, but my understanding is medical care is not going to drive most expats away. I had been living farther out before Dupalog, and it was definitely an upgrade. I find that the layout of the city to be something of a pain in the ass. The main road parallels the coastline, and so way too much traffic. Housing and businesses are overly concentrated along this pattern. The city itself swells dramatically during the day from other nearby locales for school, work, and shopping. So part of the city during parts of the day may seem like you are in rather densely populated larger city. I got the feeling that fleecing for the foreigner through corruption was not a huge problem. They seem to understand and appreciate our financial contribution there and are happy to have it without a lot of screwing with us. The people who are generally friendly and a lot more accepting of my relationship with my native girlfriend with a very large age gap. In Dipolog, we could tell a lot of them did not like it. Mostly they did not care. They seem enough foreigners to know what our game is. I also noticed quite a few Westerners married to local women who were quite a bit older. So say a guy who was 70 years old would marry to a 50-year-old, a bit unusual to the mongering eye, where older guys are seeking and finding younger women. Rent were pretty good, expensive, not bad either. Internet was mostly poor, even when paying for the better service. Power is indeed down a lot. The monsoon do not seem to affect too badly due to the location. Lots of rain though. Overall, it's an acceptable place to live depending on what you're looking for. So far, it seems like there really is not anything exciting in Dumaguete or any reason to move there except for a university which offers many young women. I don't understand why someone would want to retire or live long term in a town that is just acceptable or just passes the bar. It makes no sense to me. Let's read some more All of the posters here have made some good points, says Tropical Nuts. I lived in the area for about 2.5 years. Wife and I have been gone for 6 years, but are moving back in 2 months. P for Pete? It's there, but it's very low key. Titty bars? Nope. At least not the ones that I saw. It does seem that I heard something about Pinoy type bar near the airport. There are a few foreigner type bars around that I would frequent from time to time for lunch, and a couple of beers. They seem to come and go. It seemed that the dining choices have grown since we lived there, and there are 2 or 3 deli stores that have things that appeal to foreigners. Overall, I was not impressed with the medical care there, although I did run across a couple of doctors that I thought were competent. I think you're looking for P for P, or if you're a serial dater, it won't be that easy for you. On the other hand, if you're looking for a girlfriend, it's not that hard to find one. I didn't think the brownouts were that bad, although it wasn't uncommon for the power to be off all day Sunday for, quote, maintenance. Based on my personal experience and the comments we read here on this forum, there really isn't a specific reason to move to Dumaguete aside from expat YouTubers and vloggers promoting their town and trying to make a living off of views from subscribers. There really isn't a reason to go there. There are many other towns and cities that are much more suitable and better to retire to live long term. If you're looking in the Philippines, I would not really recommend Dumaguete. It has become a hotspot for foreigners, and people are starting to notice and take advantage of you in different ways that you might not think. Rent is one of them, and of course women, they all get around. They're all on the same apps as the rest of the foreigners and the women, so they get passed around a lot. And for the past couple of videos, we spoke about STDs and HIVs and how easily they are spread, and they do not seem to care. And I'm sure many men don't care either, so consider those things when you're moving there. Your budget will not go as far as it would in Vietnam or Indonesia or some other neighboring countries. Consider Cambodia even, perhaps. I've heard some good things about that country. I'm not sure regarding their retirement plans, but the only good thing about Dumaguete that I noticed, several people have mentioned the kindness of the people. However, I'm not sure if that's lasting kindness or simply a tourist's first or second glance at someone smiling at them. These things can be very different from person to person. If you've been to Dumaguete recently, write them down below. Let me know what your issues, some pros and cons are. Also, power outages and water outages seem to be a big issue. With congestion along the main road that runs through town, it can be very difficult to get throughout the day during traffic in the morning or in the evening. There are some foreigner restaurants that I know personally that offer decent food, but local Filipino food is just as bad as anywhere else. Keep those factors in mind. Also, the university women, they are just students, so if you're thinking long-term partners with someone like that, it may not work if you have a large age gap between the two of you. Some things that you should definitely consider are the health care as well. Many facilities do not have adequate health care and adequate equipment to keep you protected. It is now time to read the best comment from yesterday's video. Every single point you've listed is 100% correct. I've experienced every single one of them living there for the past 10 years. Thank God I'm back in the USA. Tied for the top comment at the moment is another one with the ambulance will make you pay them before they transport you. Same with the hospital treatment. House burning down, pay them or they aren't putting out the fire. At the moment, there is no worst comment on this video. Thanks for watching. God bless.